Hey fam, this is Hector Mirai, and you're listening to Faith and Fandom 180 on LTN Radio. So I had a fun experience at a spring festival in my region recently. You know, I'm assuming every big town has like a spring festival of some sort or whatever, but you know, it was one of those things where there's like food and vendors and rock climbing walls and marching bands, and it's the whole big deal. And so I was set up there with the Faith and Fandom booth. And, you know, it's not my normal crowd. I'm not seeing people running around cosplaying and people that are just, you know, nerds for days. It's really just a bunch of muggles walking around enjoying the spring weather with fried food and adult beverages. And so about 15 minutes into it, this mom is pointing to my booth and bringing a teenage kid over. And this mom had intentionally brought this kid to this big spring festival so he could see my booth. And she said, "See, look, here he is." And this teenage kid comes up to me and says these words: "I thought I was the only Christian geek in the world." And I was like, "No, my guy, you are far from the only Christian geek in the world. You're far from the only Christian geek, like, in a 1 mile radius. I mean, you know, you're not alone." And his mom realized that this kid felt alone and that he felt isolated. And she thought that the best thing that she could do for him was to introduce him to someone else who loved God and also loved nerdy things and geeky things. And we stood at the booth and talked for a while. We talked about books. We talked about this show that he's making on YouTube and all these things. And, you know, I encouraged him. But his mom went out of the way to make sure that he didn't feel isolated. And that was something special. If nothing else happened good in that event, that was worth it. And it reminds me of this in Hebrews 10:24. Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds. Sometimes we feel isolated. Sometimes we don't see how to take the next right step. And as believers, we should think about ways we can help each other make that next step. If you'd like to learn more about Faith and Fandom, head on over to faithandfandom.org, where you can learn about our Comic-Con ministry, podcast, memes, apparel, and book series. You can even read new chapters before they make it to the next book. I'm Hector Mirai, and thank you for spending the last 180 seconds with me.